Today on Meg's Magical Mansion, we look at a very interesting question that everybody thinks about. What happens when we die?
Enter a world of enchantment, of enlightenment, Meg's Magical Mansion.
Come, whoever you are, into Meg's Magical Mansion, a virtual guest house for spiritual wayfarers, a place where the ordinary becomes magical, where wisdom is yours for the asking, and where your higher nature is just a wish away. Thanks for joining us here today at the Magical Mansion, and thank you for this lovely glass of champagne, Parfait.
You're welcome.
Hey,
I know what she likes.
she does. Hey, how are you and Angelica doing?
We're doing fine, although she won't leave me alone.
What do you mean? What's the problem?
She's been bugging me day and night about death.
Death? What do you mean?
Well, she wants to know what happens after we die.
You know, a lot of people worry about that and wonder about that. And you know, I've just been reading a book about death and what happens. And what was that guy's name that wrote that book?
Oh, Jimmy Newton's father.
Yeah, Michael.
Yeah, there you go.
Michael Newton, PhD. He's a psychotherapist. He does a lot of work with hypnotism, past life regression, and he has a very interesting take, and he's done a lot of work, case studies, to find out what happens. Do we have past lives? Do we have future lives to look forward to?
I don't know.
And what happens in between?
Well, I'm looking forward to our giveaway.
Oh, yeah, so stick around. We have a giveaway, too. Today, we have an absolutely riveting topic to discuss. It's death. What happens to us when we die? And this is something that absolutely every single person thinks about at some point or another. Some of us more than others. But I'm pretty sure that at some point, everybody thinks about what is death? What happens when we die? Where do we go? What happens to our souls and our spirits? And I've been reading a fascinating book called The Journey of Souls by Dr. Michael Newton, who has a doctorate in counseling psychology. He was a certified master hypnotherapist and a member of the American Counseling Association and a practicing psychologist who is using hypnotism as a large part of his practice. And to be honest, he admits he was a skeptic about past life regression and things like that. But he had an experience with a patient that made him a believer, and he began devoting his life to researching what happens to us when we are between lives. Many of his patients report having had multiple lives, some of them many lives. And this is one of the first books to explore the idea of the post-death experience. And in this book, Journey of Souls, Michael Newton gives first-hand accounts from 29 people who he placed in a super conscious hypnotic state using his innovative techniques. And while in a deep hypnotic state, the subjects, with remarkable similarity, described their post-death experiences, showing us in detail what the spirit world is actually like, including where we go after death and what we do in between our human lives, and why people choose to come back in certain human forms. The 29 case studies included in this book are largely shared verbatim as a dialogue between Dr. Newton and the patient. And we are allowed to hear and see through their words what happens to us at the time of death and how we depart from our human form, and how many spirits report a rediscovered freedom from their earthbound bodies and an eagerness to begin the spiritual journey back to a place of peace and familiarity. And he talks about different things in situations where people have been ill for a long time and have passed, or people have had a sudden, unexpected death, and how our souls cope with all of this, and about how the journey back to the spirit world is a journey of healing and cleansing, where we are reconnecting back to that world we were once part of. He talks about the gateway to the spirit world and how we come back, and how souls that are less mature might require more support when re-entering the spirit world, and more advanced souls may require little or no support to help them reacclimate back to the spirit world. He talks about how the spirit world is organized in levels, and souls work their way up from a beginner to an intermediate to an advanced. And he also talks about, I found this very interesting, how every soul has a spirit guide, always looking out and helping and working with us. It seems our time in the spirit world is largely spent studying and learning and growing to prepare to go back to earth in a new body, where we are definitely sent to learn important lessons. And Dr. Newton reported that in the spirit world, we inhabit communities with other entities that are at the same level of development as we are, and that we are very closely and tightly bonded with these people, which isn't to say we can't communicate with other spirits or other entities, but these are primarily the entities that we spend our time with. We have teachers and guides in the spirit world who help us choose and select the kind of opportunities we need for growth in our next life. There's a lot of talk about karma and how certain souls, he calls them displaced souls, can come back and be moved away from other souls and kept in isolation for a while. And these would be souls that had really committed evils or crimes or hurtful things to other entities while in their human form. So those souls may have to spend some time in solitude and reflection before they're integrated back in. But the real punishment for them comes in the form of karma, meaning that if you harm someone in a particular way, say you were a thief, you may have to come back in a life where you're going to continually be robbed. So in that way, you have to learn what it's like to be the victim of the crimes you have perpetrated in your last human life. And all of these things get worked out. Many of these things are already decided before you go ahead and attempt another human life. Remembering we always have free will, and when we come back to the spirit world, there is definitely an accounting for how we used the human host body we were given. And what did we choose to do with it? And apparently, the harshest and most severe critic of what we chose to do with our last life is usually our own selves, our own soul. But there is like a committee, and you do seem to have to give a report of what you did. There is a big emphasis on trying to live a loving, caring, compassionate life where you are helpful to other entities. I also find it interesting that when we are on Earth in a human body having an earthly experience, our spirit guides can often communicate with us telepathically or psychically, and sometimes will even appear as different people in our lives if we really are going to need that kind of support. That is the job of your spirit guide. It's truly the idea of you do have a guardian angel. You have teachers and guides looking out for you and looking after you. More advanced souls are in charge of you or assigned to you to look after you. So your guardian angel really is there. And if you can just listen and open up to them, they're there to help. And he does address the topic of ghosts or spirits that refuse to go back to the spirit world, who usually tend to be immature spirits who have some sort of unfinished business on earth. They can be disruptive. They're often tied more to a specific location than to anything else. But he makes the point that there are powers and entities from the spirit side that are actively working to guide these souls home. And it seems that this accounting of our lives and this sort of judgment day is not really that judgmental on the part of other entities. Rather, they are guiding us through the debriefing of what we have just been through. As I said before, it sounds to me like the most critical person or the harshest person is usually the spirit themselves criticizing their own life choices. The spirit world sounds to me like a place where there's not a lot of negative human emotions running around, and there's a lot of fun and humor and even playfulness, but not in a mean-spirited way. That sort of mean-spiritedness that we feel in our human lifetimes is often quite shocking to younger spirits. They're not really ready for all of that negativity and some of the emotions that we have to deal with in our human form. Because in our spirit form, it sounds like we really just don't have things like jealousy or greed or anger or fear and prejudice, things like that weighing us down. And the spirits seem free to comment and discuss all of these things without any fear of upsetting or making someone angry, because those feelings just don't seem to exist. Many spirits talk about being playful and joking around and teasing each other, but it's never done in a mean-spirited way, and those feelings just have no room in the spirit world. It's also important to note that the spirits themselves are not perfect. They are imperfect spirit entities working on a path to perfection, and spirits will move up in this progression. And they talk about the layered design of the spirit world. It seems to be designed in these translucent layers that go from light to dark, and as you become more condensed and solid within yourself, you move down to these heavier, darker, more substantial layers. The younger spirits are sort of up in the lighter, translucent part of the spirit world. So we are here for a purpose, and that purpose is to work out the lessons our spirit soul needs to grow. And we have to pay off our karmic debts for things we've done in other lives. And I think a lot of the Buddhist principles really make sense looking at this model, especially that notion of karma. So if you're feeling tempted to perpetrate some harm on another soul or another entity here while you're in human form, think twice, because your next time around, you will have to play the opposite role to balance things out. I think the biggest takeaway I got from this book was that we really do not need to fear death. When we die, we are returning home, and we will be greeted by loved ones who will welcome us, help us reacclimate, and we will be glad, happy, joyous, euphoric to be released from the shackles of the human body we have been encumbered with. And you know that feeling when you've been gone on a long trip and you come home, how nice it feels. I think it's going to feel like that. So, while we're in our human forms, let's all get out there and work on learning the life lessons we've been sent here to learn. Let's try living our lives with the kindness and compassion the universe is expecting of us, because we know when we return home to that spirit world, we will be making a full accounting. The universe has very kindly given you a body to use as your mode of transportation in this earthly plane. And when you return that body at the end of the run, you will have to explain what you did with it. Put it to good use.
Hey everybody, this is Parfait. I'm here with Angelica, who's still a little weirded out about the whole death conversation. So we're going to make a drink to kind of soothe her nerves. We're going to make the bee's knees, which is a great springtime drink. Now, lemons go in the drink itself, along with gin, honey, and we're going to add something a little special, lavender. So we're going to make a honey simple syrup right now. Come along. To make our honey simple syrup, we're going to take half a cup of water and add it to our pan. Our pan is on medium. Then we're going to add half a cup of honey. Again, the pan is on medium heat, and you're going to want to let this cook and simmer. There we go. So now we've added our honey. There we go. Now that's all incorporated. And then after this, we're going to go ahead and add our lavender. And that's our special ingredient to make the bee's knees. Let this cook down and then strain it. And you'll have yourself lavender simple syrup. Once it's thickened up a little bit, then you can go ahead and strain it into your pitcher. And there you have your honey lavender simple syrup. Angelica, chill girl, I'm gonna make some drinks, gosh. Oh, hey, so we're gonna go ahead and continue that recipe. Here we have the simple syrup we just made. We're gonna go ahead and take 4 ounces of our gin, and we're gonna pour that into a shaker with ice. There we go, 4 ounces of our gin. And then we're going to go ahead and add 1.5 ounces of lemon juice. After that, we're going to go ahead and add our simple syrup. You should do 1/2 cup, but we're doing more than that because we're doing a double recipe. You're going to add that to your shaker and you're going to give that a big old shake. So you're going to keep shaking that until it's really well chilled, or until your hands freeze and fall off, like mine. Okay. Woo! Hands frozen. After you're done shaking it, go ahead and add it to your chilled cups. Now we have our cups chilled here, and then we'll add our bee's knees. After you go ahead and pour your drinks, then you want to add your garnish. Here we're garnishing with a nice wedge of lemon. And there you go, bee's knees.
Did somebody say bee's knees?
Oh my gosh, it's Meg! Hey!
Hey, Parfait!
She always has this uncanny ability to come around when drinks are being made.
I know when those cocktails are being served.
Yes, you do.
Woo-hoo.
Here, try one of our bee's knees.
Thank
And yes,
you.
Angelica, you'll have one later. Cheers, darling.
Cheers!
That is really delightful.
Wow. You
I
really
like that.
you have totally outdone yourself, darling. This is
The lavender is delightful in this. You're
that
really
was a
gonna
nice
love
touch. I think the traditional bee's knees does not.
it. No, it doesn't have the
Your own little,
lavender.
that's Parfait's own little twist.
Enjoy.
Ooh, fabulous.
Cheers. Hey everybody, this is Parfait and Angelica, who's been a very naughty girl. Meg and I are mad at her because she took an Amazon gift card. A $25 Amazon gift card meant for you. She took the card and tore it in 2. The 2 pieces, the 2 different numbers, are hidden somewhere in this episode. If you find them and put them in the right order, you're going to score big. And she's in trouble, but don't worry about her, because it's going to be your lucky day. Take care and make sure you let us know in the comments if you find it. I agree, Angelica. I feel a lot better too. And Meg definitely helped us understand more about death and dying. And thank you for joining us today at Meg's Magical Mansion. Remember, in the words of Buddha, 1,000 candles can be lit from a single candle, and the life of a candle will not be shortened. Happiness never decreases by being shared. Please join us again at Meg's Magical Mansion in the future, and thank you again for your time. Take care. Angelica says goodbye. Okay, so after you're done shaking it for a while, okay. Woo! Hands frozen.